So, guys, day one of Giants training camp was all about the offense. They came out sharp, won most of the battles, and gave fans plenty to be excited about. But day two told a completely different story. A Giants defender delivered the kind of performance that quickly became the biggest talking point of practice. At the same time, there were some encouraging developments on offense as well. A few players continued building momentum. Overall, it was a much more physical and competitive day, and there were plenty of takeaways that could have a real impact as training camp moves forward. So, in this video, I am going to break down everything that happened on day 2 of Giants training camp and why it could be an early sign of what's coming this season. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Giants. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's just get right into it because day 2 was a whole different vibe out there. Day 1, like I said, belonged to the offense, but defense went home, watched the tape, made their corrections, and came out today and put on a show. And honestly, that's exactly what you want to see from a team. You don't want one side dominating every single day. You want that back and forth, that competition. And today, the defense answered the bell in a big way. And I got to start with the boy who owned the entire practice, Abdul Carter. Look, I have been saying it all offseason. I am fully bought into what this kid can become, and today just confirmed everything. He made Andrew Thomas work all session long. We are talking 2.5 sacks across several team periods, plus a deflected pass off the arm of Jackson Dart. 2.5 sacks in a single practice against your starting left tackle. That is not normal. That is a guy who is already operating on a different level than most edge rushers in this league. And John Harbaugh was even asked about him, and the way he talked about Abdul Carter tells you everything. He said he has had 2 good practices so far, and he is doing everything well right now. And when you think about it, that is exactly what you want to hear about a number 3 overall pick heading into year 2. You want him to be that guy who is just doing everything right, down after down, situation after situation. Harbaugh even talked about consistency being the next step, being a complete player on the edge in every single situation, and honestly, if he gets there, this defense has a totally different ceiling this season. And look, the numbers back this up too. As a rookie, Abdul Carter was actually top 10 in pressures league-wide, and number 1 among all rookies. Yeah, the sack total was a little low, I get it. People look at that number and want more. But when your pass rush win rate is that high, when you are consistently beating your guy one-on-one at that rate, the sacks are going to come. That is just a matter of time. It is one of those stats that tells you the production is coming even if the box score has not fully caught up yet. And based on what we saw today, it looks like it is starting to catch up right now. Even Andrew Thomas came out after practice and basically admitted it. He said Abdul Carter is better than he was last year, that he is rushing with more mature moves, bringing more power, and understanding the game a lot better. When your own left tackle, a guy who has battled him every single day, is out here saying that you know something real is happening. I think number 3 is about to have a monster year for Big Blue, and honestly, I do not think people outside of Giants Nation are ready for it yet. Now, Abdul Carter was not the only defender flashing today. Kayvon Thibodeaux had maybe the single best individual play of the entire practice, tipping a pass from Jameis Winston to himself, and then taking it the other way for a touchdown. That is the kind of instinctive ball-hawking play that gets a defense fired up. And when you start thinking about Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeaux, and Brian Burns all rushing off the edge together, if that trio can really click this season, this defense could be putting a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks all year long. That is a scary group when you really sit and think about it. Alright, let's shift over to the offense for a second because there were some real storylines developing there too. Jackson Dart had kind of a flip-flop type of day compared to yesterday. In 11-on-11 work, he finished 5 of 13, which is not exactly the number you want to see, but then in 7-on-7 drills, he bounced back and went 7 of 8. So, it was a mixed bag, honestly. Yesterday, he was money in the 11-on-11s and a little rougher in the 7s, and today it basically flipped. That is normal for a young quarterback still building consistency across every phase of the game, and I would not read too much into one uneven practice. One thing that did stand out, though, was a beautiful touch pass down the field to Darnell Mooney. Dart dropped that ball right into his hands on the move, threading it between a couple of defenders. And that is a name we really did not talk much about after day 1. Today, Darnell Mooney was targeted 6 times and caught 4 of them. This is a guy who has put together almost 2 1,000-yard seasons in his career, and he is exactly the type of receiver who can take the top off a defense. Do not sleep on him being a real difference maker for this offense this year. Now, on the flip side, we have to talk about Theo Johnson, because he dropped another pass today after also dropping one back on day 1. Look, I have kind of been defending him this offseason because of the chunk plays he flashed last year, and I still think there is real talent there. It has only been 2 practices, so I am not ready to panic. But at some point, if you cannot consistently catch the football, it does not matter how much talent you've got, you are not going to hold down a role in this roster. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on as camp rolls forward. And if I talk about encouraging story from the camp so far, I have an offensive line to discuss. For the second straight day, the starting offensive line opened up some really nice running lanes. And when is the last time you heard people say that about the Giants' offensive line in training camp? Honestly, it has been a while. If this group can stay on the field, and I mean really stay healthy for 13, 14, 15 plus games from guys like Andrew Thomas, and if some of these other pieces develop the way people expect, This line has a real shot at being one of the better units in the league this season. Now, there are no pads on yet, so we have to be a little careful about reading too much into it. Pads come on next week, and that is when we will really get a true litmus test of what this offensive line actually looks like under real contact. Okay, now, I need to talk about the depth chart, because there were some notable names popping up in 11-on-11 work. Darius Slayton got some run at the number 2 receiver spot, and it is great to see him back out there fully after offseason surgery. Greg Newsome got the first crack at the number 2 cornerback role, which is worth watching as camp continues. And at running back, Cam Scatabo was getting that first team work as well. On top of that, when asked which defensive back has impressed the most so far, the answer that came back was Deonte Banks. So maybe some of that offseason hype is actually starting to show up on the practice field. Then there was also a fun little battle brewing at kicker. Dominic Zavada ended practice today by drilling a 57-yard field goal, and that came right after Brandon Allen moved the third-team offense into range on a nice completion to Isaiah Hodgins. Yesterday, it was Ben Sauls who had the better day between the two kickers, so this competition is starting to heat up a little bit, and honestly, watching a kicker nail a 57-yarder in a simulated pressure situation is a pretty encouraging sign for a young leg trying to win a roster spot. Now, let's get to some of the injury news, because there is actually some good stuff to share here. Malik Neighbors was back at practice again today, and it sounds like his workload is steadily increasing. Yesterday, he was out there for about 20 minutes, and today it bumped up to around 30 minutes. He's still not doing live 11-on-11 work, but the running and cutting we have been seeing on video looks really promising. There was one particular cut where he really sank his hips with confidence on that surgically repaired knee, and honestly, at this point, I think it is fair to say it is more likely than not that he is out there and ready to go for that Sunday night opener against the Dallas Cowboys. There is no official target date for his return, and honestly, there does not need to be one. He is just taking it day by day, and when he is ready, this offense is going to be a lot more dangerous with him on the field. On the not-so-good side, Art Green did miss practice today with some muscle tightness, so that is something worth keeping an eye on over the next few days. Hopefully it is nothing serious and he is back out there soon. And finally, some really uplifting news away from the field. John Mara was out on the sideline today watching practice, reportedly getting around in a golf cart as he continues to battle cancer. There has not been a ton of official updates on that front, but every single picture we see of him as the weeks and months go by, he just looked healthier and stronger. So keep him in your thoughts, because everybody in Giants Nation is rooting for him to keep fighting and to get to enjoy a big season with his football team. So when you step back and look at the big picture from day 2, this was a really encouraging day for this team. Abdul Carter and the defense showed exactly why there is so much excitement this season. The offensive line is quietly building something special. Darnell Mooney is proving he can take the top off of defense, and the Malik Neighbors update was genuinely good news. Still some things to clean up at tight end and with quarterback consistency, but overall this team is competing hard and building real momentum. I think this football team is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I'll also say this, the tone out there mattered just as much as the plays. Guys were talking trash, competing on every rep, and Harbaugh called it a physical practice. When guys care that much this early, it usually carries over once the games start counting. That's going to do it for day 2. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss these daily updates because there is a lot more coming. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let me know who stood out to you most today, and I'll see you in the next one, Giants Nation.